Hey, I want to be honest with you. I don't like sales. Actually, if I'm going to be really honest, I don't like rejection. So if you're a small business owner like me, stick around. I'll be right back with Adrian Havelock, who's going to share tools to go beyond the discomfort about what it means to go out there and sell your business. We'll be right back.
Your strategy has to involve your mindset, and your strategy then involves the actions that you take to move you from where you are to where you want to be.
I'll start with what Visa isn't, right? Visa doesn't issue credit card. We don't issue credit. So Visa doesn't do that, which surprises a lot of people.
We'll use a phrase like, things changed, but things don't change. People change things. All the legislation that has been passed, somebody advocated for that. And so International Women's Day is to commemorate that history of women making change.
Several of the banks have started to migrate their existing debit card portfolio to chip and pin EMV technology. So the SMEs are going to benefit from a wide range of customers who previously did not have a credit card, but only had a debit card.
Good morning and welcome to the live series Straight Off the Bat, a show that covers the need to revive, survive, and adapt to the new normal of COVID-19. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals across multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. If you're joining us from LinkedIn, hey, thanks. Don't forget to follow our page to continue seeing content that will help you manage your money. Today, we're discussing effective sales strategies for small businesses in Trinidad and Tobago with Adrian Havelock. He's a sales trainer right here from Trinidad and Tobago. He helps corporate giants communicate with their customers in a non-salesy way. I think that's so important. His method has made him one of the most sought-after sales trainers in the Caribbean. He's an author and a go-to corporate sales trainer who delivers new insights and experiences through his customized workshops. Having over a decade of sales experience and dealing with varying personalities, that is so important, varying personalities, his sales process delivers optimum exposure to the possible responses you can get based on any sales situation. He also believes that we're not alone in this universe. And if you know who Mulder and Scully is, you know who I'm talking about. So let's welcome Adrian to his first guest appearance on the Straight Off the Bat show. How are you going, Adrian?
I am fine. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Awesome. And for those who may be wondering, what does sales have to do with money? Well, if you're asking that question, it's a good thing you're watching this show because we have a lot of things to deal with that question. But let's get right into it. What is sales? Because we live in a world that words are so subjective now. It's actually, it could be a little cumbersome and overwhelming at times. For the purpose of this show, can you share with our audience what is sales?
All right. So a lot of times people have the misconception that sales is a process. We need to look at the word subjectively and really focus in on what that means. Sales is not a process. Sales is a result. What you want is a result. What you want is a sale. Okay? So when you talk about sales, you are talking about results. Results from what? Results from selling. Selling is the process. So when we look at sales, we need to look at these are the results of the work that we have done.
That is such a great place to start because we are in a society that values friendship before the bottom line. And when you're running a business, the bottom line is profit. And when it comes to sales from a small business perspective, we hear about stories like, one of the biggest cosmetic resellers of cosmetics in Trinidad and Tobago, going from door to door and knocking to get his product sold, and then eventually, there's this massive business that has been built. So from where we're living right now, the perception of sales has evolved because you're not knocking at no door in this this age, besides the fact that we're in a lockdown, the consumption of information is in a different place. So can you shed some light on those two sort of outlooks at what it means to sell to somebody and that outreach? What does that look like now?
Sales has evolved, selling has evolved, the way we communicate with people has evolved significantly, especially within the last 20 years. Because before the age of the internet, we had the door to door salesmen. We had people going on the road, pounding the pavements, and trying to sell their product or service. Now, because we have information technology, we have a lot of devices and multiple ways in which we could reach people, okay? That has eliminated a lot of the physical hard work, right? To reach these people, but it also made it easier to reach them because it's more, it makes them more accessible. There was a time before even cell phones, you'd have to call people on their office phones or on their telephone at home. But you know, if they're not at home, you'd have to leave a message. Now it's instant. You're getting them on social media, you're getting them on the internet. So the speed at which we can reach people, it's completely opposite of what it was even up to 20 years ago. And that has really helped the way in which we sell. It really has helped the way in which businesses can grow or have the potential to grow. And, you know, I'd say 50 years ago, sometimes it would take 10 years for a business to grow from very small to very large. Now it take you a year. You can go from nothing to something that is so big because of the way in which you can use technology to sell and get sales, make profit, and really become successful.
I think that's such an important factor because now more than ever is the time to have a business in terms of the ease in which to connect to that person. Because, you know, we're talking about calling the home phones. I remember someone, I think I was some insurance company was asking me for a home phone. I'm like, what is that? I don't know what that is. I don't have that. So,
Right.
you know, that shift is so important for small business to understand how their audience, their behavior. I want to shout out to Desiree. She is definitely one of our OGs in attending our live sessions. Hope you're having a great day today, Desiree. Let's talk about this conversation around, you know, being online, because with that, there's this, you know, obvious expansion of use of social media, and folks have this perception that they can sell on social media. So can you share with our audience, you know, is that the case? How do they approach social media, especially when sales and marketing is lumped in the same space? I think we're having a little bit of a delay there. All right, we got you again. So let's try that again. Go ahead.
Can you repeat?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was asking.
Can you repeat the question? I lost you for a second.
Sure, no problem. I was asking about, you know, we're talking about social media and the digital age, where your customers obviously consuming and spending their time on the internet. And with that, you have an opportunity to connect with your customers. But a lot of times, and you know, for those on your LinkedIn, I'm sure you guys would have experienced it. You'd have gotten somebody slid into your DMs and went straight into, you know, I have this great opportunity for you. This is going to be amazing. And I don't know how effective these things work. Maybe you have insight that I don't know about. But can you shed some light on how small businesses can approach the social space digitally and that connectivity between sales and marketing?
Okay, so for the social media, in order for a salesperson or a small business owner to go and get new clients, they'd have to do something that is called prospecting. Prospecting is the process via which you acquire a list of names or companies, people who could potentially buy from you, and you reach out to these individuals or companies to be able to have a meeting and sell your product or service. With the use of social media, it is a lot more easier to do so. However, what is different is that the way in which you would prospect and build that client database and reach out to new customers would be different on social media. And you'd hear a lot of consultants and professionals talking about social selling. Now, being able to sell effectively on social media is not about selling at all. It is about being able to be a better marketer, even though you're a salesperson, right? Because you need to do better marketing. And the best way to do marketing is through social selling. And how do we do that? By not selling our product or service. We should not be sliding into people's DMs and then trying to pitch our product or service or tell them that you have something really wonderful, but I noticed that you don't have this, you don't have this, you don't have this, and I could help you with this, just reach out to me. That is not selling. That is basically jumping and pouncing on somebody without them expecting it, and people don't like that. The best way you can sell on social media is by helping people, sharing tips, sharing advice, showing how something can work, explaining something in a very, very simple way that a kid could understand you in your industry, of course, so that when your clients or your potential customers see these snippets, see these videos, see these posts, text, images, they can get some value from it. And even if they want, they can put it to use. But when you give that type of value, it comes back to you in the form of potential clients, inquiries into your product or service. That's the one thing that we need to do as a salesperson or a small business owner. We need to become a good marketer on social media. Okay? And if it is that you can market well, you need to also understand that the marketing and the selling are two different things. Okay? Just because you're doing the marketing and you're consistent on social media, you need to understand that when you're having a conversation with your client, that is different. That might be selling. And even so, you shouldn't really be talking about your product and service.
I really need you to expand on that sales and marketing conversation, because it's such a blurred area. As someone in the marketing space, I get a lot of requests that are very specific to selling, and I want you to share your insight on somebody on that. It's usually sales and marketing. So from the sales perspective, can you tell our audience what's the main difference between sales and marketing?
I'm going to explain this to you very simply. Marketing makes the phone ring. Selling is what you do when you answer. So
wow. Okay.
when you can put out content in such a way to attract people's attention, that is marketing. That is where you would make that phone ring. That is where you get people inquiring about what you have, because you make them want something without you having to sell it. And when you're having a conversation with them, let's say it's on the telephone or in person or even typing away, all right, that is where your ability to sell comes in. So when I see companies, recruiters want to hire salespeople, but they need a certificate in marketing, a diploma in marketing or whatever, and they hire these people are not going to perform in sales very well, because they have studied the ability to market and make the phone ring, but they have not been able to really study or have the experience in knowing how to have that conversation when they answer the telephone. Okay? So we need to differentiate the two. Marketing and sales are not the same thing. I repeat, marketing is what makes the phone ring. Selling is what you do when you answer.
That is such a great analogy, and I feel like we need to put that on loop. YouTube usually has these videos where you'd say somebody saying the same thing for 10 minutes. I want to put that on loop for 10 minutes, because that is so important in the space of the sales conversation. As a small business owner myself, you kind of get wrapped up in things because you're the cook, the bottle washer, and everything in between. And it's easy to be, overwhelmed and say, okay, I'm just going to get it done. And you're right, in terms of those job descriptions, everybody wants everything on the kitchen sink from that one person, which is something small business owners do as well, because you're just thinking to survive. So we're hoping that we can educate our audience today as to why it's important to separate certain aspects and jobs. And I want to talk about sales strategy and why it's important right after the break. Welcome back and thank you for joining us today. If you're just joining us, this is Straight Off the Bat, a show that covers the need to revive, survive, and adapt to the new normal of COVID-19. Today, we're discussing strategies to help your small business effective sales strategy, because if you don't have sales, then how are you going to get profit? I mean, hi. And we are joined today by Adrian Havelock. He helps corporate giants communicate with customers in a non-salesy way, which is so important. I've had so many people sign into my DMs and I read the messages because I'm curious. And I'm like, have you even read my LinkedIn profile? Because I feel like you don't know who I am. And it's so easy to differentiate that from my LinkedIn profile. So today we're here with Adrian, and he has created a method that is sought after by a lot of sales trainers in the Caribbean. He's also an author and a go-to in corporate sales trainer for delivering new insights and experiences through his customized workshops. So we're going to try and pick a few things from his brain right now. And, I mentioned in the introductory earlier, he believes that we're not alone in this universe. And let's talk for the millennials, because I don't know if the Gen Zs are going to know who Mulder and Scully is. So for those who may not know, who's Mulder and Scully, Adrian? Are you there? Are you hearing me?
Pauline, can you hear me?
Yes, I know I can. Yeah. Did you hear my question? Yeah, can you hear me now? Oh my gosh, I just heard the Verizon ad in my head. Are you not hearing me? Hello? Okay, so we're gonna go on another quick break and hope that Adrian is going to get his audio when we're right back. So catch you. Welcome back. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. This is in real time, guys. There's only so many things we can control, but what we can't control is the conversation around sales. And just before the break, we were discussing sales and marketing, which is forever the bane of my existence. Everybody trying to combine the two. But what we're going to look at right now within the effective sales strategies for small businesses conversation is sales strategy. First of all, what is a sales strategy, Adrian?
Right, Paul, you can hear me now, right?
I can.
All right. So in terms of a sales strategy, it's the ability to understand what is the process, what is the plan you have when it comes to reaching out, finding new customers or new clients, and being able to communicate with them in a way that gives them value and want to do business with you. So if you have an effective sales strategy, it means you have an effective sales plan. And when you have an effective sales plan, that means you know and you understand what is the process, what is that customer journey going to be like when they meet you for the first time until you shake hands with them and you close that sale and you deliver on that product or service. So having an effective sales strategy is being able to know what your plan is, understand that process, and execute it.
The idea of a plan, I find, is so foreign to a lot of businesses that I have discussions with, because we're so focused on, okay, I want to have this amount of sales by this time frame, and there's such a trajectory. There's this conversation around success is not a straight line; it's up and down. It's the equivalent of sales, right? And when it comes to customer journey, Yeah, it's black and white when you have that retail company. So you say, okay, the person walks into my door, they look at my shoes, and then I have somebody who goes and engage with them, convince them to get it in their size, and then they go to the cashier. But when it comes to the world we're living now, unfortunately, a lot of businesses are no longer in that physical space. What advice would you give to that small business owner who is trying to navigate a digital space and you're speaking about customer journey? What advice would you give to them?
Well, what happens is that customer journey is going to shift from something that is being physical to something that is more virtual. And this is where the social selling comes in. So they need to start being courageous enough to put themselves out there, because as a small business owner, your brand is not necessarily your company. Your brand is yourself. So when people hear about sales training, right now my brand is Adrian Havelock. When it comes to sales training, when they talk about speaking, the brand is Adrian Havelock. And as a small business owner, you need to build your personal brand in order to be able to go out there. So you have to have that courage, become courageous to put yourself out there. Let people start seeing you, let people start hearing you, let people start seeing the work that you do and knowing your name. Because when they know your name and they know who you are, that is your reputation that you're building there. And that reputation is the foundation for that big business that you're going to have in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. So your personal brand is very, very important, but you need to be brave enough to put yourself out there. Come on camera, speak to people online, give value, record yourself, post it up, let them see you, let them see your product, right? Let them see you talking about something, but giving value, not about selling it, not buy my book, not buy this, not buy that. Don't say those things. Give value. Show them how they can achieve their goals, your clients, that is, your potential clients. And when you do that, that is where they gravitate towards you and they want to know more. They want to find out more. They want to inquire. They would probably want to know what packages you have or what products you have, what is the price. And you'd have people buying from you rather than you selling to them.
You're speaking my religion when you said personal brand, because I think that is extremely important. And a lot of the responses I get from individuals is, well, I'm afraid to go on camera. And this is not for me. I'm not outgoing. I'm not meant to be in front of a camera. What would be your response to that, Adrian?
Well, if you're not brave enough, or you don't have the courage, or you're saying that it's not you to go in front of your camera, then it's going to be a lot more challenging to build your personal brand. You'd have to probably go and try the old school tactics of pounding on the door, pounding the pavement, going to see people in person. And in this day and age, not everyone is as open as before to meet people in person, which means it's going to be a bit harder for you and it's going to cost you a lot more money. So where do you want to go? You want to put yourself out there, use social media, and it's a free platform, basically, to market yourself, right? Or do you want to spend the money and send mail outs or try to prospect people in the old school traditional ways? Now, I'm not saying that the old school ways don't work. They do work. You need to know how to utilize it in a way in which you can tie it back to social media and the internet and make it work together in harmony. But if it is that you don't want to put yourself out there, then you're going to have to invest and do ads, spend money that you probably mightn't have as a small business owner in order to build a company brand for it to become well known. So that's the give and take right there. I would always encourage people, build your personal brand, because people would remember your name and know your face much faster than the name of your company, especially when you're starting off with building a business as a small business owner. Try it. Do 1, 2, 3 videos. Try it, see what it's like. And don't worry about trying to get it perfect, about having a perfect background, about having a perfect lighting, okay? Go and look at a lot of the videos that myself and other consultants do. Sometimes we take our cell phones and we record the video with our cell phone. No proper lighting, nothing. We just have a nice area with a talk and you share a short video. It's okay to make mistakes on video. People don't have to be perfect on video to put yourself out there. You can say something, and if you forget what you're saying, it's okay to say, and then you remember and you continue. That in itself shows realness, it shows authenticity. And when you are authentic with your audience, you come across as a genuine person much more than if you try to be a perfectionist, to have the right lighting and setup and everything else that will cost a lot of money. Okay, start off small. Use the resources that you have. Okay, the free platforms. Use your cell phone. Start marketing. You don't have to have everything perfect. Start putting yourself out there, and as you do more, you'll get more accustomed to it, and you start to develop a habit. It's like riding a bike. The first time we'll fall down a couple times, get some bruises, but after a while we start to balance the bike a little bit better, and you get better, and you get so good at it. After a while, you don't even have to think about when is the right time to pedal, when is the right time to mash the brake. It's so automated. So you have to start doing it. Throw yourself in the deep end, take a risk, take a chance, put a video out there. It doesn't have to be long, and try it a couple of times. You'll get the hang of it. It's okay.
Great advice. And if you're just joining us, we did have a conversation early on about sales strategy, which in effectiveness, that's a sales plan, right? Everything should have a plan. If you're just going into business blindsided, I guess this is not the live show for you. But when it comes to the specific steps that you need to take as a small business owner, do you have any sort of action items that a business owner should take to create that effective sales strategy, also known as a sales plan?
I would always tell a business owner, as long as you have the product or the service and you're ready to get started, go and start selling. Don't worry about your branding. Don't worry about your brand colors. Don't worry about don't worry about putting things in order up front. Don't worry about the storefront. Don't worry about any. Just start selling. Start selling. Start calling people. Start utilizing social media, and start making sales. The key thing is to start generating cash flow. When you could start generating cash flow and you start to build that momentum, you can utilize the profits from that in other areas when it comes to branding and colors and marketing strategies or plans, or building an effective website, or doing a social media promoted sponsored post. Okay, the key is to just start getting that ball rolling with your sales. Start reaching out, start calling these companies or these clients, get meetings with them. Okay, get them to place a small order with you, but always deliver on service. As a small business owner, the key thing is to give the best service you could possibly give when it comes to clients, because that is part of building your personal brand. It is part of building that reputation, okay, and becoming known as someone or a company that people can rely on. At the end of the day, you're dealing with people, and people want reliability, they want efficiency, they want service, and they want it with a smile.
Yes, agreed. And we're also shifting into a space, well, not shifting, we're there within the e-commerce space. And you're talking about price earlier when you're selling yourself and selling your business. What advice you'd have to that business owner who basically small businesses aren't competing with the company next door. They're not competing with in the mall, the store next door selling the same shoes. In addition to that, they're competing with Amazon. And we're now in a space in the Caribbean, not just Trinidad and Tobago, but in the Caribbean, where your consumer is digital savvy. They have access to credit cards, and they're making decisions that is best for them, which means it's going to be cheaper and it's going to get delivered to their door. So when it comes to a business owner within Trinidad and Tobago, their prices is impossible to compete with the massive giant that is the person trying to get into space with our money, right? So where will that sales strategy, that sales strategy will differ, but where's the evolution there for that individual to make sure that they get piece of that pie and then it's not all going to Jeff Bezos?
Okay, so I need to make this clear. Okay, just because we have Amazon and these different platforms that sell any and everything that you can possibly think of, it does not mean that because you have a small business or a small website that sells a couple of things, that every single customer or every single individual in the Caribbean or in on the island is going to buy only from Amazon. Okay, you need to remember that every product has a buyer, every service has a user. So if it is that you provide a product or a service as a small business owner, there would be people, there would be companies who will do business with you. So we need to get that myth out of our heads that just because they can buy something online with a credit card, they won't do business with me. That's not going to be true. First of all, you can have people that you know as your very first customers, and they will support you. Okay, there would be some that wouldn't support you, and that is fine. But there would be the ones who would support you, and sometimes the ones that supporting you are the ones that who will surprise you, right? You would at least expect that, oh my God, this person is buying my product or service. This person is doing business with me, right? I've seen a lot of small business people. They started off really small, and their own relatives did not do business with them. Okay, but their friends and friends of friends were able to start buying. And when they bought, they were able to receive good service. And then they came back. And when they came back, that was an indication of customer loyalty. And when you have customer loyalty, okay, that in itself goes a long way, because now you have built that level of trust where they don't want to deal with anybody else. They want to deal with you. So we need to stop thinking that because people can buy stuff on Amazon and use their credit card and import it for something cheaper, that nobody is going to do business with us. No, that's not true. That's not possible. You're always going to get sales. The key is to work at it. The key is to build your brand through your marketing, through social selling, and be able to answer that phone and speak effectively, communicate effectively with that sales conversation, and close that sales and repeat and do it repeat and do it and repeat. And these people are going to come back and they're going to do business with you, and you're going to build as time goes on. Okay, so stop thinking about what we can't do and let's look at what the things that we could do, right? Because a lot of times we have that thought at the back of our heads, what if it doesn't work out? Well, you should also ask yourself, well, what if it does?
Yeah, that's sorry, I was making some notes as you were talking. Those it's extremely important, and I think it ties back into what you said earlier about personal branding, right? And one of the gaps I see within Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago in particular is that content that speaks to the story of the business. Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, what do people invest in first?
Well, I mean, they invest, it's twofold. They invest in themselves because what's in it for me, all right? But they also invest in other people because if I like you and I trust you, I will do business with you.
Exactly. And you see it in a lot of businesses locally here as well. Something might be a little bit more expensive, but because the service was excellent, they're not going to even bother to think about changing. Also, there's this shift, well, shift as I get older and I see the grays in my hair. The idea of moving from different services just doesn't even fathom for me, because it's like I have been using this particular person for a service for the last 4 years. I wouldn't even think about going anywhere else because I've built a relationship with that person as well. And we were talking about showing value, right? And in this conversation around Amazon, with that sales conversation and using digital media, how do you show value?
You help people by giving them things that they can use. So for example, if it is that you're selling, um, how to say it, a drill, okay, you sell tools, okay, I will use a drill for example because a lot of people know what a drill is, and I think it's an easy example I can use. If you take a video of you with the drill in your hand, and all you do, you just, in that one short video, you say, well, you know what, with this drill, it has this feature and that feature, but let me show you something interesting with it. You can use it this way. And you record yourself drilling a hole with that drill, right? Or you're showing them a function on it. This is how you need to use it in order to achieve the best result, okay? That in itself teaches somebody about that product or service without just calling out a bunch of features. You actually show them how to do something or how to use it, right? And they can remember that for a much longer time than if you were to just talk about features and say it has this, it has that, it has this, it has that. And that is valuable because chances are that person would have had an old drill home and they say, you know what, I need this drill because this drill now, I can just do this particular setting and I would be able to get the job done just by putting it here. No, I want that drill. So by giving value and showing somebody how to do something or how to use something, gives them motivation to want what it is you have, rather than to say, here, what, I have this cell phone, it have this camera, it have this memory, it have this screen. That really doesn't give them a reason to want it, right? But when you give them something, a reason that they could take back to themselves on a personal level, they would want it. You would build a desire for them. And that is how you can utilize the social platform to be able to give that value to them. So a lot of times I do a lot of little short vlogs where I talk about a sales tip. I say, you know what, listen to this tip. When you talk to this customer, try this question when they ask you about this particular part of the function. And I'll tell them what the question is and I'll say, okay, have a nice day. And I leave the video like that. Sometimes my videos are less than a minute long. But in my LinkedIn inbox, I get queries from people, from companies, from HR directors or managers or owners of companies about my sales training, right? Because they will see my title as a sales trainer. They would have seen the video as a tip and they'll be like, that's very useful. I could tell the sales staff that, Adrian, I want to talk to you about training the staff because I found that tip very useful, okay? When you're able to give that kind of value, you get that kind of reaction, you get that kind of result.
That example with the drill is so important right now because you have a lot of people at home just fed up of looking at the same thing on the four walls that's around them. So I know for a fact a lot of changes have been made for people in their living rooms. You know, their specific corner of a place in the house is now an office space. So that drill example is so relevant now in a world that, you know, where we going? We have nowhere to go. So when it comes to the sales strategy and having a sales plan, you know, one of the things I mentioned with your bio is this idea of varying personalities, which I think is something we need to touch on because when you are excited as an entrepreneur, when you are, you know, when you believe in your product or services, you have a tendency to be delusional. And when I say you, I mean me. I had those times. I still have those times sometimes. And I think you have to be in order to be a business owner. But is there any advice that you can give to a small business owner to be like, okay, you know what? This is not the right place for you to be prospecting, or this is not the right person to continue pursuing. What are the signs that you need to sort of like maybe 3 signs that they need to say, okay, yes, let me just cut my losses and go to the next one?
Okay. Well, first of all, right, and I'm going to tie this back to what you just said there about being delusional. If you're in sales, and by sales, I mean not just being a salesperson, but you have a small business and you are the small business owner, you run the show, you have the products and services that you offer. First, you need to understand that not everybody is your ideal customer. Not everybody needs the product or service that you have. I have heard people tell me, when I ask them, I say, well, who will buy your product or service? Or who's the ideal customer? It's like, but everybody need this, right? I could sell this to anybody. Everybody need this in their house. I'm like, no, partner. Unless if you sell toilet paper, not everybody is your ideal client, okay? because you need to understand that you need to identify who is that target customer. What is that customer profile for your product or service? Okay. And if you can target that, it means you break down the list of clients down to a certain percentage. And within that certain percentage, because they're more ideal for your product or service, and when you target them, you can get more sales because you're not wasting any time with everybody else who would just tell you no, or who would just give you the runaround and not buy from you. So first of all, we need to make sure that we're targeting the right people for our product or service. Not everybody is going to buy from you because not everybody is your ideal client. Secondly, when you identify these ideal target customers, you're going to give yourself, well, first of all, you have to work hard, but you're going to give yourself less work in that you don't have to waste your time going through the entire sales process with people who are not ideal. So you make it easier for yourself, although you're still going to have to work hard. You make it easier for yourself because the percentage of sales that you're going to close, it's going to be higher. And when you're selling, you're most motivated because knowing that you're closing the sales, you're generating the income, the revenue, you're making the profits, you're on a high. And when you're on a high, that is the best time to go and start looking for more customers because within you, you have that excitement, you have that enjoyment, you have that passion. And when you communicate with people, people will feel that, right? We talk about, in the Caribbean here, we talk about vibes, right? People pick up our vibes. Like, you ever walk into a room, and as you walk into that room, you just know it's a bad vibe because the people in that room probably just had an argument and they stay quiet just as you walk in. So just as how you could pick up on that vibe, people will pick up on your vibe. So if you know that you're doing your work and they're buying and you're most motivated, continue trying to get more customers. People are going to pick up on that passion. They're going to pick up on that vibe. It's going to draw them to you. Yeah.
I have a story about, I know you said the toilet paper, but even the toilet paper, I mean, as I get older, my roommate took me, we were in PriceSmart, and there's a certain brand that she took up, and I was like, this is so expensive. She's like, no, we need to get this. And as we're having this discussion, a guy randomly passed, and he was like, listen to her. She knows what she's saying. And to this day, that was 5 years ago. That's the only toilet paper I use because I'm like, I've been living a lie. And obviously, there's certain brands that, you know, if I had some pick-me's besides the cat I have, probably wouldn't be able to buy that if I was buying it for multiple people. So even within the toilet paper example, there's segments of individuals who fall into a certain category. And when you mention that story about I want to approach everybody, and that's such a common thing that I encounter as well within the marketing space. When I ask people who's your audience and they say everybody, I'm like, it was nice meeting you. I wish you all the best in your business, and good luck, because it's impossible. It's impossible because we're all segments of some idea and thoughts that came together and made us one into a personality, right? And it's so great to hear that feedback, and I hope that folks out there is getting some value from it. I want to talk about this sales and marketing conversation even more because I see it a lot with job descriptions, which you mentioned earlier. And this idea of a very, I don't know, multifaceted, extremely like multiple requirements individual. I call them a unicorn. So let's learn from other people's mistakes, but we're gonna expand on that right after the break.
But that was like my first experience with money. Very, very first experience.
I've been in banking since I was a teenager.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Straight Off the Bat show. We cover the need to thrive and survive and adapt to the new normal of COVID-19. Today, we're discussing the Effective Sales Strategies of Small Businesses in Trinidad and Tobago with Adrian Havelock. He is a corporate sales trainer, and I love the fact that, he is talking about a non-salesy approach, because I don't know about you, but I've gotten so many people sent to my DMs having this great opportunity, and I'm like, what? This is not relevant to me. So I don't, like, somebody was trying to sell me their agency and all the things they can do for marketing for me, and I'm like, but that's exactly what I do. So I'm so confused. So let's really delve into what we can learn with him in his 10 plus years experience within the sales space, as well as he believes that we're not alone in this universe. And for those who are our Gen Zs out there, can you tell them who Mulder and Scully is?
I would just say go on YouTube and look at an episode of The X-Files, and you would see who Mulder and Scully is. And take a look at 1 or 2 episodes. I think you might enjoy it.
Oh my gosh, the memories that comes up with that. Like, I literally, especially now with Halloween, I guess I could look back at that and be like, laugh at it, but it was so scary back then. It's just like, what? There's this whole, and the music. Oh my gosh, that and Twilight.
Yeah, that soundtrack always stuck in my head. Don't worry about it. Always stuck. Ancient Aliens on History Channel. That's another good one if you want to take a look at it.
It's fascinating, those stories, and let's in terms of the stories that are being told within the sales strategy conversation. Right now, there's a story that I think, it's like a big divide, like the movie 300, sales and marketing, because people are of the assumption that they're the same. And, you said something earlier, and I want you to repeat it. What is the difference between sales and marketing?
Sales and marketing are 2 completely different things. Marketing is what makes the phone ring. Selling is what you do when you answer.
That is something we should put on t-shirts. So when it comes to that space, you mentioned earlier about folks putting specific tasks on a job description. And I see this with small business owners as well, where you're requesting the person to have a marketing degree while also having 10 years experience in TikTok. This time TikTok is not 10 years old. Having, all these like very specific, and within marketing, there's also a segment that breaks down, because just because you're a content creator doesn't mean that you understand advertising. So what is the similarities with sales when it comes to the task that's required? Because we cannot be good at everything. I see it a lot with even LinkedIn profiles. You see all these amazing different things that's on their intro, and I'm like, it's no way you could be great at everything. So when you fall into that trap as a small business owner, how do you really break down specific tasks within the sales space when you're trying to be, I just want to get it done?
All right. Here's something that is very important, and I want every business owner, every small, medium, large, I want conglomerates to know this. Send this video out to all the banks' HR departments, please, because I want to say something that is very important. Your marketing department, your HR department, your fleet management department, your staff, what other departments that have in the organization costs money to run. Your sales department, even if your sales department is just you, is the only department that brings in revenue. Now, there was a poll I had put out on LinkedIn a couple months back saying, if you were to cut back on a budget within your organization, would you cut back on your marketing budget, and would you cut back on your sales budget? And I can tell you, the results were very, very close, but all the marketers said that you need to cut back on the sales budget, and all the salespeople said you need to cut back on the marketing budget. There is a disconnect, okay? Now, I believe you should cut back on your marketing budget because salespeople could use their personal brand and do marketing in order to get sales leads, okay? But marketing departments, if they were to go with their opinion and cut back on the sales budget, then the investment into the sales department would not be as high, and then you would not see the results, which means that you're going to be pumping more money into marketing, but you're not going to get back that in sales from the sales department. And this is why I believe that you have to invest a lot in your salespeople, because they are the ones who bring in the revenue for the business. So when it comes to being able to utilize the sales strategies, I need to ensure that when companies are hiring, and recruiters are going to bash all you for this, right? You need to ensure that if you're hiring a marketing person, hire a marketing person. If you're hiring a salesperson, hire somebody who can talk to people, okay? Sales is not necessarily about qualifications that's on paper. It is about the ability to understand people, talk to people, have emotional intelligence, and be able to read and know what other people are feeling and understand and be able to communicate with them. So you need to be able to distinguish between the two. Understand that sales bringing in that money, marketing is spending the money, but they should work together. If you're a small business owner, you have a small business, you're definitely going to be doing the two. So when it's time for marketing, you put on your marketing hat. But when it's time for sales and selling, and you're having conversation with people, you need to be able to know how to talk, empathize with them, understand their position, understand that you can't be emotional, because you need to understand what the other person's emotions are to know how to respond to them in order to get sales. So yeah, I'll pause there for a second, Pauline. Just, I want to know what you think about that.
Well, that poll, I mean, I see where you're coming from, but I get a little bit more granular because it also depends on who your audience is. In terms of that poll you were talking about early with where you would cut your budget, I think a lot of folks are shifting online, and depending on where your audience falls, that marketing reduction of budget will affect your bottom line. So it really depends on your audience as well, because for instance, I've had discussions in the past within the e-commerce space, and it was three of us, and two of the individuals wanted to speak to somebody, and then I was like, no, I don't want to talk to you, I just want to do online chats. So it really depends on your demographic, and that's where data comes in, and that's a whole technical conversation. But I can see where you're coming from in terms of within the lockdown and the space we're in, budgets are being cut. So hard decisions have to be made. And there will be a sense of bias, because obviously if you're in marketing, I'm like, don't take away my money.
Yes, of course. And I understand that. That's the thing. I understand that the marketers don't want their budget cut. But the thing is, okay, let's use a company A, for example. Company A has a sales department and a marketing department, right? If it is that you, cut back on the sales budget and you invest more into the marketing department, and the marketing department does a fabulous job to bring in and generate some brand awareness or awareness on terms of the product or the service, and these potential customers, right, based on the nature of your business, does not necessarily have to do all the transactions online, right? They would need to call the office or reach out or deal with somebody, right? Without the investment into the sales department through training and providing them with the resources, you could lose a lot of sales, because first of all, it looks very attractive, but when you get into it and you deal with the people, you realize, I don't want to deal with these people, right? I don't. Let's flip it around. You invest into the sales department, you give them all the resources, marketing department guides them as well with regards to marketing, and you all work together. The sales department is allowed to do their own version of marketing through the investment that they got in training. When they deal with customers and customers enjoy talking with them, the sales are going to come in a lot easier. So it's a very fine line, and this is why, although they're different departments, they need to be able to work together. But you need to make sure that you invest in the sales. You could cut back on anyone, no problem, but make sure that you always invest in the sales department. You can invest in the marketing department, but let them work with the sales department. As a small business owner, you're going to be doing two. you're going to be doing your marketing, you're going to be doing your selling. And I mean, that's a whole other discussion I could get into, but I really want to focus down in terms of where it's different and why it needs to be able to work together, although it's different. They need to support each other at the end of the day. If you have a company where your marketing department and your sales department support each other, that company is gonna be the most successful company that you could possibly ever think of. And as long as the money flowing, right, the company is growing. And when the company is growing, the people in the company would be growing as well with the company. They would be all able to achieve their goals, career-wise and personal.
And with that example you just shared, let's say you have a small business and you have a staff of 4 or 5 people, and not everybody is customer facing. There's a theory that everybody is a salesperson once you're employed by a company. What's your opinion on that?
To an extent, as long as you work at a company, if it is, I'm looking at this from a company's perspective, right? If you're working in a company, you represent that company no matter where you are, right? So in a way, you're selling for that company, even if you're not actively selling, because you represent the company. A lot of times, you wear the company logo on your shirt, or a badge, or a pin, or a hat, or whatever it may be. You represent the company, and in that way, the way in which you carry about yourself in that uniform, or even representing the brand, is a reflection of the brand. So everybody should be selling, but that brings me to the point where I think everybody in the company should be able to sell, because if your sales department brings in the money and all other departments spend the money, right? Why not give everybody in the company the ability to know how to sell? Train them, because chances are somebody in HR could meet somebody in a line somewhere and they start to talk, but the way in which a conversation could flow into a conversation where that company does big business with the other individual or the other company representative, just because they didn't deal with a salesperson, but they dealt with somebody in the company who received training and knows how to sell, and they were able to talk in such a way that a business relationship was able to blossom from that.
Great advice. And to close off, Adrian, I want you to share with our audience out there who is watching this, with the current pandemic, it is difficult for many folks, and you can feel flustered, frustrated, wanting to give up. What words of advice would you give to that individual who is pounding the pavement, virtually or otherwise, and feel that it's time to give up?
In life, a lot of things tend to not always go our way. And I would definitely want to say that, when it comes to your small business and because you're pounding the pavement, you may not always have the resources, but you can be resourceful. You have the ability to think. You have the ability to know how to process and understand situations and come up with a solution, not just for a customer, not just for your company, but for yourself. Come up with this. You have the ability to be resourceful, even if you don't have the resources to be able to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Okay? There's this quote that I always use when I go to do talks, and there's a quote by a man called Thomas Troward, right? The law of flotation was not discovered by the contemplation on the sinking of things.
That's something I think I'll ponder even later. That's pretty cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Adrian, and sharing insight into the effective sales strategies for small businesses in Trinidad Tobago. And if you are interested in learning about these conversations, we have these live shows every Thursday. So check in the links in the comment section and sign up to be notified. And always be sure to like and follow on LinkedIn. And we are on YouTube as well, because for some reason, there are folks who are not on social media, but they want to be able to access these conversations. So head over there and subscribe. And thank you so much for joining us today. And have a great afternoon. Well, morning. Yeah, day.
Thank you for having me. I had a good time.
Awesome, Adrian. Bye, everybody.